Alright, time to do one of my patented videos before work. And today I'm going to be doing a review of Void Rivals. This is a comic not from the Independent Hall my friend Chris sent me, but actually a comic I bought myself. I saw it in my local comic shop. I literally forgot it came out in trade, but I was like, shit, I need to buy this. Because, like, this is, if you don't already know, Void Rivals was basically the start of Image's new Energon verse, which is the new universe for Transformers and G.I. Joe. But they interestingly started with this new original comic with an original universe, and I think that's kind of a neat idea. That because Robert Kirkman is writing this with artwork by Lorenzo Di Felici and Matheus Lopez. Hope I'm saying those names right. And I think it's a really ballsy and also almost ingenious idea when you're starting a new universe with Transformers that actually had a massive universe over at IDW that got rebooted to middling success. I've read some of the reboot universe, and they're not bad. It's just, I feel like they didn't know what to do, because they did everything before. Like, they already did everything already. Like, that was, I feel, like, personally... Also, I do feel like the fandom just got too, like, the fans who said woke killed Transformers were the reason people stopped reading it, was because the fan base became so weird. So, personally, I didn't like the reboot universe because I just felt like it was kind of running in circles. It's like reading a late Bendis. It's like reading a Brian Michael Bendis comic in the later years. You know, where everything's just kind of like move the car, George. And when you even get it in trade, it's like it reads better, but like at the same time, it's like, man, this is kind of a far cry from what it was, right? I think they were trying to go to Game of Thrones on it, and they just didn't grasp what, but it was more of Game of Thrones in the later seasons. That's just me, though. Anyway, so like I said, it was kind of a ballsy move to like make an original like this is an original title, but it's set in a universe for Transformers and G.I. Joe and God knows who else. And they were basically like, "Oh yeah, you're not going to realize that it's the start of it's in the Transformer G.I. Joe universe that we're building." Unfortunately, while they were trying to hype it up as like Robert Kirkman's next big project, the problem is that every goddamn alternate cover spoiled it. Like, they basically spoiled that Void Rivals was the start of the new Transformers G.I. Joe universe, even though that isn't kind of the main focus of the universe. I'll get to that in a minute. So let's get into the story. So the story is, it's set on a planet that is being consumed by a void, and the races of the Zetonians and the Argonians. They're two races that who've never seen each other's faces, and they basically are at war with each other while their collective world is sinking further into a void. So, two pilots who are exploring into deep reaches of space run into each other, crash land, and their names are Darak and I cannot pronounce these names. Celia. So Celia and Darak are forced to work together in order to return home getting off this desolate world, and the person they actually encounter is Jetfire. And Jetfire has apparently been away from Cybertron for so long because he's an Autobot he was basically a scientist who was exploring deep space, and he freaks out and leaves, and that was the only time we get to see a Transformer for a while. But from their adventures, they basically encounter the Skuxoid. Yeah, you guys remember? That was a deep cut right there, the Skuxoid. And the Quintessons. Now, let's get this out of the way. The Transformers stuff I just mentioned, while it's supposed to be the big pull of the comic, that's not really the main focus of the story. The thing of it is that those are more building blocks in the background. Robert Kirkman tends to do this a lot in his writing, where he will set something up, and then you might forget about it, and then it comes back as like, oh shit, that just became relevant again. And that's kind of what we're dealing with here, is that we're doing some Robert Kirkisms, where the main focus right now is that the focus on what's going on with the two main characters, Darak and Celia. So the Transformer stuff does look like it's going to be relevant because it's very clear that the Quintessons are aware and they do know about the two races, and they're very curious about it. But we don't know their plan right now. They literally are just like they're literally just like, that's all in the background. So if you come here to this book thinking you're going to see Transformers everywhere and these Void Rival bullshit is going to be in the background, I'm sorry to disappoint, but that's not the main focus. And honestly, that would have killed the book for a lot of people, myself included, if when you find out, oh, the Transformers stuff is in the background and you sometimes forget it's even there. But having said that, the story itself is actually pretty interesting. See, I thought these characters were actually supposed to be like Space Knights. And yes, but I know some people have said, oh, well, Rom the Space Knight is back at Marvel. No, Hasbro and Marvel just have a deal to allow them to reprint the old Rom comics. That's really all it is. So they could use Rom the Space Knight in the Energon-verse. And I thought they were supposed to be connected to Space Knights, and for all intents and purposes, they still could for some reason, because it's very Space Knighty, the designs. But thankfully, for right now, they're not Space Knights. Again, that could change in the future, but for right now, yeah. The story itself is thankfully really engaging. This whole thing of these two races who don't know each other's faces, and when Dark and Celaya reveal that, hey, we basically look the same, what's going on? And it's revealed that, yeah, you find out that the two governments on both sides of the factions are working together, and all you really know is that they're trying to stop Unity in order to keep this something called the Coming of Galiant. We don't know what Galiant is. Obviously, that's a later point. But I kind of throwing out my tinfoil hat theory is, I think Galiant is supposed to be Unicron. I'm convinced that's what's in the void, because it's a huge fucking void, just like a black hole consuming the world. The two factions. So I'm very much convinced that thing it's they're building to Unicron already. You already got the Quintessons, you got the Skuxoid. I'm convinced we'll also see a lot of the other Transformer races in here, like the Nebulons and the other non-Cybertronian races. But the Transformer stuff doesn't really play a lot in here. Really, you only see Jetfire and Shockwave for Cybertronians. It looks more like the Quintessons are going to be a bigger antagonist in the later comic, which I'm totally fine with. I'd like to say, the one thing IDW didn't really do in those comics, the one thing they never really did in the IDW universe, they barely touched the Quintessons. They did not at any point really use the Quintessons. In fact, it's really hard to find any of the IDW books that do utilize the Quintessons in any way or any way meaningful. So it's actually really refreshing to see the Quintessons as a big villain again. As to see them as a big upcoming villain. But then again, there's always that chance that Robert Kirkman reveals, oh, they're not really the bad guys. They just have a interest in it. The Skuxoid starts out as a villain, but really, the Skuxoid actually has more character depth than he does in the episode he showed up in G1. He's basically just a bounty hunter, but he treats it like a job. He's like, look, I'm just doing this to feed my family. I got bills to pay, dude. I don't have time. I'm not Boba Fett, man. I really like the Skuxoid. I really like. Why do I keep calling him the Skuxoid? His name is Skuxoid. I'm just so used to say it just seems like the Skuxoid. So yeah, it's so Skuxoid. Skuxoid is just kind of I don't want to be here, man. I got family. I just want to make money to. Come on, let me. His whole thing is this is a job, and he's tired already. So it's very clear Kirkman really is he likes to really put his best writing into some of his characters, and he does give some to the Darok, and I think also Darok has this robot AI called Hand Droid, which is his co-pilot. It's got some fun lines in there too, but I feel like Skuxzoid is going to be like Alan the Alien in this universe. I just got that feeling. But yeah, all in all, I do it. Aside from the Transformer stuff being in the background, this is still a really damn good book. I really do recommend this. This is a great jumping on point, and I'm excited to see how Void Rivals will further expand into the Transformers universe and how it will further explain the Transformers stuff out there. I really can't wait to see in trade the I really can't wait to get Daniel Warren Johnson's comic in trade. I've heard nothing but really good things there, as well as checking out Joshua Williamson's Duke and Cobra Commander. Very excited for those. But anyway, so there you go, guys. That's I give a glowing review to Void Rivals. But anyway, you guys tell me in the comments below. What did you, if you've read Void Rivals, let me know in the comments below. What did you guys think of it? Hope you all enjoyed this. And yeah, other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the multiverse.